Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Nicole Abreu, Nicoleabreu, and I have 3 CPS students who are continuing with full-time remote learning. My oldest is a student with disabilities, and I'm thankful for this opportunity to share how the CPS reopening plan affects K-8 diverse learners, the vast majority of whom, like my daughter, are not in the cluster programs that returned last Monday, but attend general education programs in their school. The CPS reopening plan is a hurricane of changes for our students with disabilities, cutting access to a live teacher by up to a full instructional day a week, and exchanging dedicated, consistent remote instruction for simultaneous instruction by a teacher who's also managing in-person students in a building whose bandwidth may or may not even support such a task, just to name a few concerns. When CPS first proposed going back to in-person instructions, families were assured we had a meaningful choice. Whether we chose to send our students in person or stay remote, they would receive a high-quality education. Despite the many challenges remote learning poses for my daughter, I, along with parents of nearly 2/3 of students with disabilities across the city who are eligible to return, we chose to continue with full-time remote learning. And I did that in good faith that the remote learning experience that we've worked so hard to create in collaboration with her school team would continue. But the current CPS reopening plan guts the remote learning of over 20,000 students with disabilities, one of the very priority groups reopening is supposed to be helping. My daughter wakes up in the morning, announces the day of the week in her sing-song way before methodically repeating the day's schedule step by step over and over as she gets ready for the day. Having been at her school since kindergarten, many of the staff know her strengths and challenges very well and do their best to give a heads up if there'll be a change in her day. Her day, like many diverse learners, is an incredibly complex web of inclusion in her gen ed class, one-on-one and small group pull-out minutes, related services, and paraprofessional support. Every week, she receives vital instruction and support from not only her gen ed SPED teachers, but several school-based therapists and a dedicated special education classroom assistant, or SECA. Aside from these direct services to my daughter, this wonderful team of professionals must consult regularly to support my daughter, ensure her IEP is implemented appropriately, as well as meet annually to evaluate her progress and create her IEP. If your head is spinning, I understand the feeling very well, because even during normal school years, it takes the highest levels of communication, coordination, collaboration, and full staffing to make this happen. A change in any one of these causes a cascade of changes across her week that throws her schedule into chaos. And with less than a week before K-8 staff are due back in buildings, schools have very few answers for anxious parents like me, who know the time and effort it is going to take to prepare our children for this transition. Questions like, will she still have sufficient real-time instruction to cover both her IEP goals and access to the general ed curriculum? What's the plan if my daughter can't understand or benefit from the masked simultaneous instruction? Will her SECA be able to support her during all asynchronous times as she has been doing? Or will she get pulled for other duties like temperature checks, lunch, recess, and supervision coverage? Do administrators have the staff and resources they need to provide quality remote learning to my daughter? CPS is pulling the rug out from under thousands of students, staff, and families, leaving schools scrambling to figure out how they will continue to support their most vulnerable students and keep them engaged in remote learning. We're living through a worldwide pandemic. Families understand that no one has all the answers, but what I do know is that while the school staff and families of these more than 20,000 students with disabilities staying remote will bear the burden of implementing the CPS reopening plan, we have not been asked what we need to maintain the integrity of remote learning. CPS, please do not abandon our students with disabilities who are staying remote. Start by asking families of remote diverse learners what they need, and then listen. Thank you.